Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today we're looking at the state of Virginia and the very competitive now Attorney General's race that is happening in the state. So in today's video I'm going to break down the Attorney General race, give my updated prediction for this race, and give you the breakdown of what is happening. So as we know, in November of 2025, there's going to be the governor election in the state of Virginia, which is getting a lot of media attention. Now, there are two down ballot races as well for lieutenant governor and attorney general in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Now, the attorney general one has particularly been getting a lot of media attention recently. So just to give you a little backstory here, in 2021, when Glenn Youngkin, the Republican, became governor of Virginia, Winsome Sears became lieutenant governor, and Republican Jason Miyares defeated the incumbent Democrat Mark Herring to become the attorney general. Attorney General in Virginia is different than governor and lieutenant governor, where you can serve consecutive terms, but Herring was defeated very narrowly by Jason Miyares, which meant that this was going to be one of the top competitive races in 2025. Now, Jason Miyares, the Republican incumbent attorney general, is running again. Democrat Jay Jones competed in the Democratic primary against Henrico County Commonwealth attorney Shannon Taylor, and this was a very close Democratic primary. Only one poll was conducted showing about a 10-point lead for Shannon Taylor over Jay Jones, but Jay Jones ends up winning 51.1% to 48.9%. Only 11,000 votes out of the 494,000, almost 495,000, separating Jones and Taylor in this race. Now, early on, it looked like what the other races like governor and lieutenant governor in Virginia, that this race would be mildly competitive, but the Democrats really should not have much of a problem winning here. The polling data for most of the summer shows a very strong lead for Jay Jones over Miyares. Though the entire time, this race did seem to be the most competitive of the three in Virginia, but it still showed that Jay Jones had a pretty solid lead over Jason Miyares. Until just recently, a few weeks ago, some text leaked out that Jay Jones sent, I believe it was a few years ago back in 2022, making some comments about then Republican Speaker Todd Gilbert and some threats to him and his family and such. I don't want to go into it too much because it's really not good stuff. I don't really want to talk about it too much on the channel, but if you want to look more about it, Wikipedia article goes in depth over what it is, what it says, and all that. So certainly you can go look on it online if you want, but point being, the comments were not very good, and Jones has been getting denounced by every single Republican in Virginia and nationally as well. Vice President J.D. Vance chiming in as well, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, including Democrats in the state of Virginia as well, including his fellow Democratic running mates of Abigail Spanberger and Ghazala Hashmi as well. So Jones is in a really tough situation here, and it has turned a race that was going to be a pretty reliable, likely Democratic win into one that could be more competitive. Two polls have been conducted since October 3rd, 2025, when that news about Jay Jones broke, and they are showing a very competitive race in both instances. Now, Hart Research, which is a Democratic pollster that is sponsored by Jay Jones' campaign, shows Jones leading 46 to 45%, with 9% undecided in this race. Now, another poll has come out from Signal, which is a Republican-affiliated pollster, not affiliated with Miyares per se, but it is a Republican Attorney General's Association that does support Miyares. So it's not the same as a campaign poll, but it is a pollster that supports Miyares. And that shows a 2-point lead for Miyares over Jay Jones with 10% undecided. Now, this is very interesting here because both of these polls, using the ratings that I use, show very interesting findings here. For one, if you see my past videos, you know I say whenever there's an internal poll, I usually shift it 5 points in the opposite direction of the pollster itself due to the fact that it's usually going to overestimate the candidate that the pollster supports. Meaning, if Jones is up by 1 here, I really believe it's somewhere like Miyares up by about 4 points. But the Signal poll shows Miyares up 2. If you shift that, that could really mean that Jay Jones is up by 3 points. So the most recent polls in this race sort of seem to contradict each other from that standpoint. Though the Hart Research one that is behalf of Jones' campaign, if it's an internal campaign poll and only shows a 1-point lead for Jay Jones, that's certainly not very good news for a candidate that was a 1-point leading by 7 points or 6 points just around the beginning of October from this poll. Trafalgar, another Republican-aligned pollster, showed a 4-point lead for Jones. Using that same 5-point rule, that would be about a 9-point lead. So it clearly shows this scandal has really hurt Jay Jones, to state the obvious, and it's hurt him. It's even in the Signal Republican poll, which Jones was leading back in September by 3 points, 46 to 43, and that same Republican poll, now Miyares is up by 2. So again, we're only having polls so far from a Democratic campaign poll and a Republican supporting poll, so you have to take these with a grain of salt, but at least thus far, it shows at very least this race is far from over, and Miyares now truly does have a very strong chance at winning this race, which would be definitely breaking from the way the other races are looking for both governor and lieutenant governor. I'm going to start with lieutenant governor because this one doesn't get talked about too much compared to the governor's race between the Republican John Reed and Democrat Ghazala Hashmi. The general election for this one shows not as many polling, but Hashmi certainly has a very strong chance at winning, and winning probably by an even larger margin than Abigail Spanberger may win by on the governor's side of things. The most recent poll that showed a decently competitive race between Miyares and Jay Jones shows Hashmi at 48, John Reed 39, 12% still undecided. That Republican Trafalgar poll shows Hashmi up 48 to 44. Washington Post has it 49-45 in that race. So clearly a Democratic lead on that regard. For the governor's race, obviously this is the one that's getting all the attention here, Abigail Spanberger is leading by 7 points, and the Real Clear Politics polling average over Winsome Sears, 50 to 43, with 2 recent polling, including the Signal one, showing a 4-point lead for Spanberger over Sears. Christian Newport University, a 10-point lead in that race. Emerson College, also very highly reputable, a 10-point lead for Spanberger in that poll as well. So it clearly shows thus far, and after the scandal, the Attorney General race is going to be the most competitive race, and one that the Republicans probably have the best chance at winning. Now, as for how the Attorney General's race went in 2021, Jason Miyares did have the closest victory of the governor, lieutenant governor, and Attorney General races, getting 50.4% of the vote to Mark Herring, the Democrats' 49.6%, roughly around a 26,000 vote win for Miyares over Mark Herring. And if you saw my prior videos about the Virginia governor's race, you're looking at the map in Virginia, and you'll see a lot of familiar talking points here, which is Virginia Beach, 53.9 to 46.1, Miyares won here, way outperforming the margins of what Donald Trump did back in 2020, a year prior. Chesapeake, going from Miyares, 52.3 to 47.7. These are 2 big toss-up areas that if a Republican is winning statewide, they're winning down here, and they're probably winning down here by a pretty decent margin, like Miyares did up here. But the 3 really big ones are the northern D.C. suburbs of Loudoun, Fairfax, and Prince William. To win the state of Virginia, the Republicans do not need to win these counties, but they need to have much better margins. And here he did. Herring won over Miyares in Loudoun County by roughly 13 points, 56.3 to 43.7. Let's just compare it to the 2024 presidential race, where Kamala Harris won by 6 points in the state of Virginia roughly. Loudoun County was a 16-point win. And this, again, 2024 was Donald Trump doing much better in Virginia than he did in 2020. If you want to go even back to that one, Biden won over Trump in Loudoun County by 25 points, whereas Miyares lost Loudoun by about 13. Prince William, pretty big win, 57.9 to 42.1, essentially a 16-point win for Herring over Miyares in Prince William. Let's look at Prince William for Trump versus Biden. 27-point win for Joe Biden, so a much better Republican showing there. And Fairfax, 42 points almost, won by Biden in 2020. In 2021, roughly 31 points or so in Fairfax. So definitely a 10-point improvement there. What I'm showing you is these 3 counties up here in the DC suburbs and the close suburban counties down here in Virginia Beach and Chesapeake are going to be very big indicators that were in 2021 and will be very big indicators for 2025, what ultimately ends up happening. Because we're expecting the governor's race, we're expecting these to be very big Democratic wins, and we're expecting these 2 to probably be Democratic wins as well in the governor and lieutenant governor's race. The attorney general's race, though, now that it's competitive, these are going to be very important areas to watch for. What ultimately ends up happening is this is going to be a very fascinating race to watch, because this scandal, without a doubt, is hurting Jay Jones and his chances of winning this attorney general's race. While at the same time, the top of the ticket, we know the Democrats are going to win the governor's race. We know the Democrats are going to win the lieutenant governor's race. Is it possible this may hurt the Democrats, the governor, Abigail Spanberger, and lieutenant governor, Ghazala Hashmi, enough to maybe weaken their margins of victory? Maybe they're going to win by 10 points, maybe they win by 7 or 8 now. It's possible. That remains to be seen how that unfolds. It is possible that could happen, but necessarily banking on it, I'm not too sure. But can Jason Miyares, with the scandal that Jay Jones has gotten, can he defeat Jay Jones? Which, even with the scandal, is still going to be tough because at the top of the ticket, we're fully expecting Democratic wins. So what ultimately ends up happening in the Commonwealth of Virginia is going to be very fascinating for this race because we really don't know how it's ultimately going to go as this race is now competitive, though all the momentum seems to be on the Republican side. As for poly market, this one's very interesting as well. A few days ago, we saw Jay Jones leading over Jason Miyares. It got a lot closer, but now it's flipped. Jason Miyares is now narrowly leading 57-42. So at least on the market side of things, people seem to be thinking Jason Miyares is not going to win. The polling data that I just showed you also shows a very tight race, which at very least has moved about 4 or 5 points in the direction of Jason Miyares. Now, we're still a few weeks away from the election, so a lot can change. Maybe as time goes on, the scandal ultimately fades away a little bit, and Jay Jones can end up winning. But at this current point in time, the way things are tracking, I actually think we see the Democrats win the governor's race, win the lieutenant governor's race, but Jason Miyares, due to the scandal from Jay Jones, finds a way to narrowly eke out a victory and keep one of the 3 Virginia offices in the red column. Now, I am putting it in tilt Republican. Tilt is going to be a 1-point margin of victory or less. Because even with the scandal that Jay Jones is now facing, and certainly is going to hurt his chances, I still think this is going to be a very competitive race. Where if the Democrat for governor and lieutenant governor are winning by at least 8 to 9 points, which is where I currently have it in my updated predictions, now seeing this race go red, if it is going to happen, I think it's going to happen by a very narrow margin. And that's where I currently have things at this current point in time in the Attorney General's race. But what was already shaping up to be a very interesting cycle with both the governor's races in New Jersey and Virginia and the New York City mayoral race, now the Attorney General race in Virginia is going to be a very competitive, close election to watch for and one that's going to be highly anticipated watching for on election night as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit like and subscribe if you did. Also, make sure to check out some other videos on my channel. I just posted updated predictions for the governor's races in New Jersey and Virginia and New York City mayoral race, so make sure to go check those out as well. And stay tuned as I have some very exciting videos coming out in the coming weeks about these governor's races and attorney general's races as well, and maybe some election nights as well. So make sure to keep an eye out for that. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.